of the Jeff Cameron Show. I sound like an injured rooster in the wee hours of the morning, but we are a go. We made it, kids. We made it. It's Libations Friday. Loosey-goosey, somewhat loosey-goosey. Once again, a little bit more buttoned up early in the season as we have a lot of content for you, a lot of guys coming on the show today and all that good stuff. So I'm excited. Welcome in, by the way. Of course, T. Lizzie is here. We're actually, at the time that you're watching this, stumbling drunk in New Orleans, face down near a ditch. That's where we are right now that you're watching this. I don't think that's true. But I am telling you that it's a possibility because we're in New Orleans as you're watching this right now. And well done. We're near a ditch. Pick us up, fellow Noles. Pick us up. It got away from us early in New Orleans. Tom's never been. Libations Friday. Lee Sterling will join us on the show here in mere minutes. It's right. That segment returns. We got picks to piggyback. It's all good. I'm excited.
I'm glad that my first trip to New Orleans is in my mid-30s. I'll be able to handle this better. So the ditch thing is just completely out of bounds. I think.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, we have work to do too. But I would say this. I went to New Orleans many times. I went there for the rematch against Florida after the tie with my dad, and that was a lot of fun. I remember the people wearing buttons that I can't repeat, but just brutal what it said about Florida. People just wore them readily, like they didn't care, didn't matter. And I remember the way that game played out with Florida State dominating. I remember being there, obviously, for the national championship victory over Virginia Tech. I remember being there for the Ohio State. Man, a lot of trips to New Orleans. A lot of trips. I won't talk about the one that should have never happened, which was the gift of a national title that I think should have an asterisk next to it for Florida, frankly. But I will just tell you that I've been to New Orleans many times. All of them were either in my 20s or very early 30s. And so a little shaky, Tom. Nothing criminal. I didn't assault anybody, and I was not assaulted. It's just that there's a feeling, there's a buzz in the air in New Orleans. The people are so jovial. The culture is rich. The food is delicious. The music is grand and diverse, and it sweeps you away as you walk around these streets. And I believe New Orleans to be one of the great cities in America. So I like diversity. I like weird. I like different. I want as much crazy as possible for my big cities within reason. I don't need it to be dangerous, but I do want places that offer something different than, say, I don't know, I could name 35 big cities in America that I've been to that are all kind of similar. So, New Orleans is unique, and the history of New Orleans is very, very unique. And those people have been through a lot. So I like to go there and have a good time and celebrate. And you're right now enjoying New Orleans with me at the time that our fine folks here are listening to the Jeff Cameron Show, which is great. We're having a good time.
Yeah, interesting. So you haven't been to New Orleans in nearly 20 years? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, correct. I have not been to New Orleans post-Katrina.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So I'm excited to get back and to see how the city's doing. I really hope they're doing well. I have a before and after snapshot in my head. I have some friends that have either lived in New Orleans and care deeply about New Orleans that have since left and come back. And, there'll be a guide. I know some people that are already there right now at the time that we're doing this show. They got there on Wednesday. So they're not afraid. You get there on a Wednesday, you're not afraid.
I'm just glad that this is a game that doesn't feature Florida State playing a team like Florida, because there really isn't much for Florida State and LSU to argue over until the ball kicks off, which makes for, I would think, a grand atmosphere Thursday, Friday, and all day Saturday as well. I mean, if you see an LSU fan, you nod and you smile, you give them a thumbs up and you say, see you tomorrow. It's nothing combative. Like, for example, years ago, back in 2014, which is nearly 10 years ago at this point, when we were in Dallas, Oklahoma State fans were oddly chippy. It was strange. I don't know if that's the inferiority complex from the Oklahoma thing talking, or that we were the big bad Noles that had just won a national championship and Jameis Winston was a polarizing figure. I don't know what it was, but they sniped a lot. Like, what are you sniping for?
I think being in Stillwater, I think that, if you're living in Stillwater and you're the vastly inferior of the Oklahoma schools, you're stuck out there in the middle of nowhere having accomplished nothing ever in the history of the program, you might feel a little bit inferiority. You might feel that. I think that's probably part.
But that's not our problem, It just it was an interesting atmosphere between those two fan bases. LSU fans are great. I mean, we experienced it for the baseball super regional a couple of years back, and baseball fans cut a little bit different. I think in the grand scheme of football, basketball, and baseball, the most laid back are baseball fans just by nature of the sport itself. But still, these are fun-loving folks, and I hear all kinds of great things about the way they tailgate. Won't get to experience that part of it on Sunday, but I'm sure that the festiveness is going to be in full flight for the next 3 days as we record this.
I've had the good fortune of covering college football, being immersed in it, talking about it, getting paid to analyze it, whatever it might be, for over 20 years. I bring it up a lot these days because I'm reflective. I got a kid in high school. I got another kid in 7th grade, and time has kind of sped past, and I'm very aware of it these days. And I try in situations like this to take a snapshot and leave an indelible memory, like I did when I went to Norman, Oklahoma with my dad and one of my dear friends. Met my grandmother for dinner there. She's from Oklahoma. That was great. She lives in Florida now and has for over 60 years, but her childhood was Oklahoma. So we got together and enjoyed that. And the point is, you do get less combative and less confrontational, and there may not be a better fan base to reflect, have fun, embrace, enjoy the moment than LSU fans. And I've been to Nebraska. I've been to Oklahoma. I've been to Michigan. I've been to Ohio State. I've been to Notre Dame. I've been to most of the traditional powers around the country, several in the SEC, obviously. Save for the West Coast, I've never been to a game at USC or anything like that. I've not been to a game at Oregon. I can't attest to that. But the point would be, LSU fans have a way of embracing the moment and life and each other and opposing fan bases. Now, I'm not telling you there aren't bad LSU fans. Of course there are, just as there are bad FSU fans and bad fans everywhere. But by and large, LSU fans are, hey, man, you're here. I'm here. Why don't we enjoy this together? We've got some food over here. We got some gumbo. Come on in. You're a football fan. I'm a football fan. The only difference is we root for different teams. And I just think that you really do. If you're going to be playing a team in New Orleans, it's pretty fun to play LSU.
Well, and the good thing is we're more similar to them than we've ever been before, because as you see the jerseys under the lights on Saturday, they're going to look kind of purple. So there you go. We're just becoming like each other even more. I am like you. Because we played Duquesne, it doesn't seem this way, but we've been talking about the LSU game all offseason. It was never about Duquesne. So at some point you say, all right, we understand what's going on here. Florida State's as healthy as they possibly can be for this matchup at center, given the bumps and bruises we saw yesterday at practice that Maurice Smith was taking snaps and Darius Washington was taking snaps during the observable portion of practice. All right, you might have some options there at center. We know that their defensive line is better than our offensive line. We feel our defensive line is better than their offensive line. Their receivers are good. Like, we know all these talking points. Come on now. Let's see it on the field, and let's see if we are as improved as we think we are. Because if that's the case and Florida State is improved, and by God, if they win this football game, you've got 2 weeks of crazy hype before we go to Louisville, and that would be a ton of fun too.
Oh, I want that badly. I want to immerse myself in the absurdity of the hype that you're describing. I absolutely want to embrace that, celebrate that. It's been a minute since Florida State had any hype surrounding its play on the field and its potential to have a good season. Let's just be honest about that, guys. Part of the problem is we've just had to shut up and take it. Walk to the next venue after the next venue with very little hope of doing anything that commands attention. And a win in this game changes that narrative, changes the way you and I feel, changes the way the Florida State's fan base feels, and I think gets the attention of the national pundits. Now, we don't need their attention. I'm not clamoring for it. But if you win here, you will have earned it. We'll talk to Matt Moscona on the show today. He'll give us those final updates on LSU. Obviously, Lee Sterling going to join us as well. So just so many fun things on a Libations Friday. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
And Gene, the offensive line, here's what's interesting. So Dylan Gibbons, we knew in practice, it's fun to be able to talk now that a game is on and everybody can see. We knew that Dylan could play center, but he hasn't played a ton of center in camp. And so when you have an injury to Darius Washington, who's the first guy, they do move Dylan Gibbons over from left guard to center. And in addition to that, they moved a lot of players around today. Bless Harris played right tackle and left tackle. Dimitri Emmanuel played right guard and left guard. Gibbons, of course, played left guard and center. They were looking at and Jazz, of course, was all over. He played right guard. He played some tackle as well. They're moving dudes around, Gene. They want it in case of emergency. If Mike Norvell's luck continues to be rotten when it comes to injuries, they are preparing on the fly, and that's what they did today with all those different O-line combinations. It was a day where they got a lot of different work for a lot of different players.
Well, and this is smart. I mean, because this is the only game you can do this. I mean, until maybe Louisiana and whatever game 11 that is. I mean, and for the bulk of the season, this is the only time you really get to try some different combinations and give guys some reps just in case, like you said, the break lasts in case of emergency. We got to move this guy here or there. At least they've gotten a couple reps at the position. They can look at film now and evaluate, okay, he can handle that or he can't. We need more reps in practice, whatever. It's a great teaching tool for them to be able to do that going in. But, you know, again, at the end of the day, I'm going to be very curious, again, what we can and can't report. But that first day of practice, what is happening at the center position? Who, you know, are one of those guys? If you're in a 50-50 with, with Smith, at that point, Maurice Smith, do you just go, you know what, we need you for this game? We probably would have let you sit, but because you're it right now, we may have to have you out there to gut it out.
What's going on tonight, Wes? Talk to us.
Yeah, first, let's raise a glass and cheers to a Noles victory for the first time in 2016 for game one. How about it?
Cheers.
It's been a minute, Wes, and it feels that long. Sometimes you say, wow, how has that much time passed? Not in this case. It feels like it's been 6 years.
Oh my gosh, I have way too much gray hair. I can tell you that. So we broke a record last year against one FCS opponent in a negative way. This year we break a record in a positive way with the 3 backs over 100 yards apiece. How about that? I mean, I knew we were going to be strong in the run game, but that was my biggest takeaway. And then you saw what Rodney Hill did, and he's going to be the truth going forward. So really impressed by that run game. I think that's really going to be our calling card for this year.
You know, Wes, what I was hoping for when I saw that with the 3 100 guys and then Hill got it at the end, I was hoping he could break one at the end so get a 4. I don't know if anybody's had 4 running backs rush for over 100 yards. It has to be very few if that's been done in college football. Yeah. And he could have, a little bit more time, he would have done one. So, yeah, you're right. That was the number one thing I talked about that earlier that stood out to me was how hard those running backs. We got some talented running backs. They run hard. They've got some good moves. And a couple of those guys, man, when Benson hit that second gear, man, that's special. We got some special running backs right now.
The only thing I didn't like about Benson's runs were how early he was hit on a couple of them. And it's great that he's bouncing off of defenders to create positive plays, but he was hitting the backfield a little too much for my liking. Trayshawn Ward, on the other hand, it seemed like whatever plays were called or whatever vision he had, he was farther up the field or down the field, depending upon your perspective, if you're an offensive or defensive person, before he ran into contact. So, Trey Benson obviously has a lot of tools we like. I didn't know he could break tackles quite like that, Gene, because even if it is Duquesne, I mean, you're dropping 4 or 5 guys on a single play. That could get real fun real fast.
Hey, this is Dustin Rivest. During the pandemic, I noticed restaurants struggling with online ordering and watched as all the major third parties took advantage of our local restaurants and thought there must be a better way, which is why I created foodiestakeout.com. The unique thing about Foodies Takeout is that restaurants keep 100% of their order revenue versus splitting upwards of 30% with the third parties like Uber Eats and Bite Squad. At Foodies Takeout, you can find some of your favorite restaurants, such as Jerry's Midtown Cafe, Misty's Kitchen in Frenchtown, Casa Grande, and even El Jalisco. Or if you're on the north side of town, check out Horizons Bar and Grill. Why not give us a try? Head to foodiestakeout.com or text foodies to 230-9456 and I'll even give you 10% off your first meal. Supporting local restaurants has never been easier. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
Now go call Seminole Glass. They'll get on the road and get it done fast.
Your local family-owned glass company, serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. At Seminole Auto Glass, we care about your safety. Insurance will send you wherever it benefits them, not the quality of service. There's a difference in auto glass companies. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass.
They handle any kind of broken glass, and you know who they are.
Better call Seminole.
Thank you for calling the Medicare Help Desk. How can we help you?
Can you help me choose the right coverage for myself and my wife?
We sure can. We can help you choose from Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, or standalone prescription drug plans from over 30 different insurance carriers.
How much does it cost? We have a fixed income and can't afford extra expenses.
At the Medicare Help Desk, the consultation is completely free. We are here to help.
Thank you, Medicare Help Desk.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. In my 17 years of experience, I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk, a place for you to get clear answers to all your questions and make sense of all the confusion. I've helped thousands of clients, and I live right here in Tallahassee with my family. I am active in my church and wish to help and serve my community. If you need help navigating the Medicare landscape, I'm easy to find. Just visit the MedicareHelpDesk.com. That's the MedicareHelpDesk.com.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show, Libations Friday. It's a loosey-goosey edition, and one we celebrate every year because you can see on the screen if you're watching on Warchant TV, not if you're just listening on the radio or the stream or the podcast, but if you're watching, you can see Lee Sterling right now, Paramount Sports. He's the best in the biz. We've been working together for, 20 years now. Lee, it's been forever. College football is back. Let's celebrate, my man. Welcome in. Good to be with you.
Yeah. I don't know. What has it been? It's got to be, 15, 20 years now? Something like that?
It's something like that. I think it's like 20 years.
Longer than most marriages. So that means we're having a lot of fun and hopefully making some money for your podcast listeners and followers out there. So I'm excited about this year. The reason I think I'm most excited, it looks like we may not have a pause. We don't have to worry about a pause there were so many times the last couple of years, Jeff, where I would have one of the guys that works for me walk into my office and be like, that Michigan game, we're not going to be able to play that game. They got 14 guys out with COVID. So that's a good feeling.
It's a real good feeling to have an uninterrupted season, knock on wood, and to have a good sense for what the personnel is going to be for our purposes, Lee, in terms of, we want everybody to be healthy, but in terms of betting games, you got to know who the hell's going to be out there.
It's tough enough. It's tougher now because all the transfer portal. You got guys, it seems like more than half the teams, maybe 60% of the teams have new quarterbacks. And a lot of them, came from the portal, which I think is going to help play. I think you're going to see the quarterback play better maybe than ever before. But, if you're just picking up the newspaper, one of the guys that would work with me on the weekends, I swear to you, Jeff, he would walk in here at 8 a.m, open up the newspaper and just start circling teams. And I'd hear him making his bets by 8:30 as he's eating breakfast. And I'd say, you really want to play Texas A&M? He'd be like, yeah. I'm like, do you know the top 3 quarterbacks are out? He's like, oh, no. It does require more work. I've had to work harder than ever before. But you know what? It's a labor of love, and when you win, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've talked to people about that. It is more work than ever before. But, then again, you pinch yourself and remind yourself that we both make a living working in sports.
Right.
And, at the end of the day, you and I are sports nuts, and we seek to make money off of our sports knowledge. And our folks need to know that we're doing the work, right? And I know you do the work. How has it been in terms of the transfer portal? You hit on something before we get to these games that I do want to ask you about, Lee. How has that worked with you? I mean, I know you used to travel a lot to spring games, and some of that had to be curtailed because of COVID. I know programs kind of changed their policy with a lot of that stuff now. What do you do? What has changed about your process before the start of a season?
So instead of going to see 10 or 15 spring games, I might see 2 or 3. But the good point is, with all these spring games now, almost all of them, maybe except for the MAC and a few other teams, you can watch them on YouTube. So, put them up on a 75-inch TV, and you can study a whole lot better. I just used to like interacting with the coaches, and the funniest thing was, I can count on both hands and both toes times that coaches would, I'd be out there, I'd get a press pass, I'd let the college know who I am. Going to some of these smaller colleges, I would end up getting invited probably 25, 30 times to go out. Like when you go to a Kansas spring game, by the time the game's over, there's really like 20 people there. And you ask a coach a question, go up to them, they're like, oh, why don't you come out for dinner with us? And I go out with the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and they tell me stuff. They'd say, hey, we don't match up with this team. We're probably the first game of the year. We're going to play both first and second units. We're not going to take a chance getting injured. But the next game, we do know this team real well. So you get little nuggets like that. So I miss a few of those things, but extra study has certainly helped me.
All right, let's get to it. We've got right off the bat a set of games here, some of which just in terms of rooting or football intrigue, there are a few that are really good, few that aren't. But they're always interesting when you're gambling on them, Lee. So we got to know Clemson minus 21.5. Last year, it was the Clemson offense that was simply dreadful for much of the season. And we were in the discovery process, right, of figuring out, hey, Clemson's defense is good, their offense isn't. They're giving 21.5 to Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is a mess, but are they 21.5 point underdog a mess?
I don't know what Georgia Tech is doing here. They've got to decide. They made the change. Said, okay, we're not gonna run the triple or whatever they call the quadruple option, but they just don't have a quarterback, Sims, that can get him to the next level. Now, he was committed to you guys, wasn't he?
Well, he was. Yes, he was. And then basically we told him we don't want him. Yeah, and then he beat us. And he hasn't played well since.
No. I still don't think he's the right guy. And Clemson, I think, will be better if you look at the reports and you watch the spring game. DJ Uiagalelei looked better in the spring game. Do I think he's a superstar? No. I think the shine's off Clemson, to be honest with you. I think their defensive line's very good. I think their running back depth, they got 3 guys that can play, is good. But the offensive line is nothing special. I think they might end up playing 2 quarterbacks eventually. They've got a 5-star kid just waiting in the wings here. The receivers weren't doing anything last year. But Georgia Tech is just so bad. I think Clemson just blows the doors off them. They need to make a statement here. I'm going to lay the points here. I have them winning this game here, 48-14.
It's interesting, too. The rumor has always been, for whatever reason, Dabo and Jeff Collins don't get along at all. So I get it. I think he'll run it up if he gets the chance. Yeah. And Georgia Tech's not equipped to do anything about it. NC State, a popular pick to win the ACC this year, may have the best team they've ever had. They've never won anything of any note whatsoever in their history. So this would be an opportune time to do it. They got a good defensive line. They start right off the bat in a game that many years ago used to be kind of fun because East Carolina could beat them. They're given 11.5 here. Does East Carolina make this interesting?
So I like North Carolina State better when they're the hunter, not being hunted. And they got a chance against Clemson because they already beat Clemson. They know what it takes. But I still think that they're not great. They don't have many guys where you're like, wow, I'm afraid of this guy. I need to game plan for him. But they do have the entire coaching staff return. Only team in the ACC that has that. They've lost 3 of the last 4 in Greenville, straight up. Just 6-9 against the spread as a road favorite the last 5 years. And Holton Ahlers, quarterback for East Carolina. I don't think anyone said this. You've seen him play, right? Okay. Doesn't he remind you a little bit of Tim Tebow light?
Light.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's a big kid. Big kid. I mean, doesn't have the best throwing motion. Well, most lefties don't, but if there's ever someone, I'm not saying his play is even close to Tim Tebow was in college, but I see some similarities there. And the guy's been there, it seems like, for 15
Long
years.
time, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as mediocre as East Carolina's been the last couple of years, they were 108 yards per game. They gained more than their opponents last year, which is number 3 in the AAC. They should have had probably a better record. Had some key turnovers go against them, key times. They lost some close games. I think it's going to be a close game. I think North Carolina State wins 31-23, but I'll take the 11 points.
Eyebrow raiser there for NC State and East Carolina. All right, we're going to get to the game I'll be covering, as I will be in New Orleans on a Sunday night enjoying Florida State and LSU. Obviously, Florida State fans crossing their fingers here that they could get a big win that propels them into certainly at least a bowl-type season. LSU, kind of a great unknown with Brian Kelly coming in. We do know they have talent, lots of it. But they got to put it all together. It's their first game. LSU, I think this line was 3 when it came out. It's moved to 2.5. Some places have it 3.5. We'll say 3 for the purposes of our conversation. Lee, who you got in this game in New Orleans?
Yeah, no bowl for Florida State for 5 years. And even after the win last week against Duquesne, the Heat still on Mike Norvell. For LSU, they're going to start Jaden Daniels at quarterback. He had 29 career starts. He was okay, up and down. I think he's going to have a short leash. I wouldn't be surprised if Garrett Nussmeier ends up playing in this game, even if it's close. He was breathing down his back during fall workouts here. So I think the learning curve in Baton Rouge is going to be shorter than expected. Are they at Alabama and Texas A&M's level? No. But they were coached so poorly. And then to have their coach leave and have to pretty much step down during the midseason, that's a huge distraction here. And then also, they got guys that can make plays. I think they have maybe a few more guys, and maybe if they can make that 1 or 2 plays, that's the difference in a game that might come down to it. So Florida State also just 6-12 against the spread as a road dog here. I like LSU 28-20. Should be a good game, though.
Should be a fun game to watch. We hope you're wrong about this, Lee. Kentucky given 16.5. Mark Stoops has done a great job with the Kentucky program. I mean, it's all relative, we know, but it's if you can win 8-9 games or 10 games as he has before, you're a hero at Kentucky. Minus 16.5 against Miami of Ohio.
So you got Rodriguez, the running back's going to be out for this game, and that could be big here. Does have a propensity to turn the ball over. He fumbles a lot, but, they lose their number 1 receiver from last year. Levis is a really good quarterback, and Stoops is a good coach. I mean, all about him. But I just think that Miami of Ohio is one of these teams that's just going to hang around here. I think their offense is good enough. They can score. And then Kentucky, one of these teams, you would love playing them as an underdog, but it's a favorite. You don't want to back them laying double digits. They get up. I've seen this so many times by 10, 14 points, and I've seen them run the ball 8, 9, 10 times. I'm not going to fall for that trap. I'm not going to beg them to have to score with 4 or 5 minutes to go in the game and go down the field. I'll take the points here. Miami of Ohio. I think, though, Kentucky wins probably by 10 to 14.
You and I are on the same page so frequently, Lee. I've had to scream at my television countless times with Kentucky up 10, favored by 13, running the ball into the center of the line at the beginning of the fourth quarter, 3 plays in a row and punting, and me saying the game's not over yet. You could throw the ball. You're allowed to do it, Mark. Yeah.
And a lot of times, also on top of that, Jeff, the defenses knew it, and they were coming up. All you need to do is a play fake and throw the ball down the field, easy touchdown. But, that's You know, that's why he's still coaching at Kentucky.
Sounded a little bitter.
Yeah.
Louisville
I lost a few, maybe 5 or 6 games because of that.
Louisville minus 4.5. That's Florida State's next opponent. So a lot of Noles will be watching Louisville and Syracuse. Otherwise, it's hard to watch Louisville and Syracuse. But it's an interesting team, Louisville is. We all know, obviously, the quarterback is talented. People are waiting to see if their defense has improved. They're only given 4.5 here against Syracuse. What are these two teams? Talk to me about this number with Syracuse, an underdog by 4.5.
So I think Louisville is going to be a very underrated team. They had so many injuries last year. Everything seemed to go wrong. Ton of transfers. Just look up and down the offense and defense. They might have 8 or 9 starters that came to them in the transfer portal. And it's not like Malik Cunningham does a bad job at quarterback.
Right.
Just didn't have the receivers. I mean, there's a couple times where they got inside the 10-yard line or even the 15, and with a minute two to go in the game, and they had receivers just drop touchdowns. I mean, wide open. So they get a little more production out of those transfer running backs and receivers. I think they're headed for, I wouldn't say a special season, but that's a total actually like too. The win total over under was 6 wins. I like them to go over. I can see them winning 8-9 games. I like Louisville in this game here. They blew the doors off Syracuse last year. They'll do it again here. I'm winning this game here 38-20.
So lay it down with 4.5 there. Your game of the week, I had a suspicion would be the game that you chose. It's Ohio State laying a robust 17 points against Notre Dame. Now, I know we don't make this pick because we want folks to know how to sign up and get this special pick and all of that. But I am curious, just a top of the mind question. Are you surprised Notre Dame is ranked in the top 5?
Yeah. I thought they'd be ranked like 10th, 12th.
Yeah.
But it's the hype. You know that. I mean,
it's
every year. Well, you know what's crazy is, have you heard anything negative coming out of Notre Dame this year? I mean, you're hearing Marcus Freeman talking about coach. I mean, everything great. They are recruiting better.
Yeah.
But you would think that they're right there. I mean, I don't think they're there, but we're going to find out. 17 points too much could be. You want to get the game? Call 800-400-9741. We started off since the first preseason game in week 0 in college football, 14-4. So we are on a roll to start the year. And I feel good after the week 0. If I would have put out every game, I think would have gone 8-1. So
put out every game, Lee.
After the fact. Here's what's great about having that happen. When you're studying all summer and you lose, like you go 1-4, 1-5 the first week, you're like, oh my God, was I looking at everything wrong? But the years where everything's going right for me, that for week 0 has been really good. And so I feel good that I was studying the right things. And even like a game I lost, New Mexico State, they lose 23-12. The opening line was like 17 points. It closed.
I had the same game, Lee. I lost it by a point. I was so pissed off about that game as well. That's all right.
If you have a 5-0 turnover disadvantage and you lose by 1 point against the spread, you saw things right. I mean, they were moving up and down the field.
Oh, I'm still mad about it. We don't have to rehash it.
I know. Let's talk about the great wins. Let's talk about Vanderbilt and things like that.
Yeah. By the way, Hawaii might have the worst defense in Division I college football. That was unreal to watch Hawaii get boat raced like that.
They were run all over. I think they gave up over 400 yards. Vanderbilt doesn't put up 400 yards rushing in practice against the scout team. And then to top it all off, they had a play where they didn't have a receiver covered. So, I mean, there was one time, I don't know if you saw this. They put Vanderbilt near the goal line, put someone in motion, and 3 guys went with him. I mean, this is great.
Hawaii's in trouble is what we're trying to say, folks. Sadly, I think Vegas is probably attuned to that after that performance. But I'm just noting maybe some overs in Hawaii games. We'll have to see. Hey, Lee, it's always great, brother. It's going to be a fun season. I wanted to make sure we got this in, even though I'm on the road traveling. Good to see your face again, friend.
You too,
and
buddy.
We'll do it again next week.
Okay, sounds good. See you, Jeff.
Take care.
That first down run, another one for Trayshawn. They brought him back out.
Another good run, man. We're just chunking in the running game right now. It's every time they run the ball, it's 6 to 8 yards.
Trayshawn
Bad snap, Play action. Got him. Let's go.
That's poise from 13 right there. Right, Dominic? Poise.
Really good, man. Yeah, man. That's a lot of times that's just going to take what you can get. But that's what you get with him, man. He's just a gamer. He's going to make the plays that you don't script. And that's what you love about him, man. He's just a winner. He's always going to do a bunch of stuff that you didn't practice throughout the week. Things break down. He's going to stay cool. He's just going to compete his butt off.
But that's got to be something that's just naturally inside you, right?
There's a big part of just athleticism in general. There's a touchdown.
There you go. Trayshawn Ward, he bounced it left. He didn't like what he saw. So he bounced it, cut to the left, and it's a 3-yard touchdown. 32-0 pending the extra point. There's the number for you.
So there's a big part of just athleticism that it is sort of ingrained from your personality. Mm-hmm. Part of your athleticism is like if you're a person who's very high strung, then high intense situations are only going to make you go up. Yeah. And then some people's personality, it's the opposite. Even though they're high strung, they get in these chaotic situations and their heart rate slows down. And so some of that stuff is not, you can train it to a certain extent, but some people, man, they just have it, it's an innate ability that you were born with. And you go, man, like that guy has always done that. Like he does it even in non-athletic situations. So when he does it in athletic situations, it's just natural.
I'm sure it wouldn't surprise you. It's great that we get into practice. Mike Norvell's media policy is the envy of most media groups in the country. He's just like that in practice too. D-Rob, he is a quiet leader. He'll pull you aside and talk to you. He's not going to, rah the huddle before a drill or before 11 on 11. He's a leader by example. He's a quiet leader. So what you're saying about translating from personality type to on the field, it makes a lot of sense to me. Now they can clock out now, right? Can they clock out 33-0? Are they done?
I hope so. With him especially.
Provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Hey, Nole fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458. 800-481-1458 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Every great construction project, whether it's a new addition or renovation, starts with a plan. At T-Spark, we are excited when our clients contact us to assist with that plan. Through our team of architects, draftsmen, engineers, we can help you with your project's planning and design, potentially saving costs in the long run. Whether you have a residential or commercial project, we look forward to working with you. Call us today or visit us at tsparkconstruction.com. License number CGC 1525336.
Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Oh, hey there. I was just singing the praises of Crawfordville Auto and Tire. They do just about everything. Complete engine rebuilds, brakes, shocks, tires, oil change, you name it, they do it. And they offer a 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty on all parts and labor. Most of the time, they can service your car the same day and offer towing to help you get to the shop. Now that's something to sing about. Open weekdays from 7:30 in the morning until 6 at night. Crawfordville Auto Repair and Tires.
Good to have Lee Sterling back on the program. Libations Friday edition of the Jeff Cameron Show, as we are making our way into New Orleans at the time that you're watching this. But we couldn't miss out on Lee's picks. It's always good to see him. I know he's excited. And we talk about things have changed and how much they've changed. I've thought about it all week long as I've gone through the rosters, Tom. And I want to go back and look at Lee's picks here in a second. But when we talk about, it's funny, even talking to Matt Moscona the first time, and he's talking about that roster and 10 different players being drafted, 9 players, whatever it was a year ago, and then what they're trying to figure out with LSU. We've all thought, what is LSU? The suspension to John Emery, and then as soon as you start bringing up the players that are replacing the players, so okay, quarterback, for example, Jaden Daniels, if he's the starter, which we think he will be, Arizona State transfer. Noah Cain, the running back, Penn State transfer. So, this is just now the normal lexicon, right? For us looking year to year, you're not going to see too many instances where if a team is tasked with winning right now at important positions where they're elevating a freshman, no, they're going to go get a transfer portal guy. And that's exactly what Florida State's done. And in many ways, this game's going to come down to those transfer portal guys. Now, I don't even mean the ones that have been here for a while. I mean, like the ones that just got here are all going to be hugely important in this game. And I think primarily when we look at Dimitri Emmanuel, when we look at the wide receivers that we're going to be counting on, those two positions, and then even Trey Benson at running back, right? Those are going to be the guys.
Yeah. It's Tatum Bethune on the other side.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
You see, you got some love already nationally. His speed sideline to sideline was highlighted on several highlights on Twitter regarding NFL accounts, like who would be on people's radar that maybe the country doesn't know about. Tatum Bethune's name got nominated, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that Lee projects the game to have Florida State produce only 20 points. To me, that has to be turnovers or missed field goals, something along those lines. I don't know, given that Florida State's offense has at least more balance to it. I don't know how you hold it down to 20 without something crazy happening. Again, like a 3 turnover spot, terrible special teams mistakes, which is not that outlandish, I suppose, to project.
In fact, that's predictable.
Yeah, just as good as LSU's defensive line is, and as much as that is an absolutely academic win on paper for LSU over the Noles offensive line, it's funny in a weird way when he said that. It reaffirms my belief that the offense has taken real steps to becoming legitimate and consistent. Where I say 20 points, that's way too light. If LSU is going to win this game, it's because they touch into the upper 20s and lower 30s, and they edge Florida State. I could more easily see LSU only scoring in the lower 20s than I could FSU. And that's such a strange feeling because I know how that sounds, but the more I think about what this offense is going to be able to bring to the table week to week, the more I think that they're going to have balance across the board that will afford Mike Norvell opportunities to create mismatches and actually for those mismatches to count. If you last year had a mismatch where it was early in the season, Jordan Wilson against the safety, you were going to lose that mismatch. It wasn't until it felt like the Boston College game was a coming out party for Wilson. If you had a mismatch that was Pokey Wilson against the team's best corner, that's not a mismatch. It's a mismatch for us. Keyshawn Helton, you go down the line, freshman Malik McClain. I think now with Pittman and Wilson on the perimeter and this stable of running backs, which are going to stay fresh because all of them can bring something to the table and they're not out of place when they're on the field, I think this offense is in just a better place to where if they only score 20 or 17, I'll be pretty shocked.
Well, I like that you're that kind of bullish, and I like the reasons that you laid out. At least there is a logic behind it, and it's hard to argue with that logic. I'm not as bullish on the receivers as a lot of people are. I don't think Florida State has a very good receiving core. Let's put it that way. I think they're average. I don't think that a lot of defenses are going to look until they're proven otherwise. And once again, this could be the game where that's the case.
Right.
But I don't think anybody saw anything on film against Duquesne that made them scared of Johnny Wilson and made them scared of Micah Pittman and made them scared. Maybe they looked at the two-span and thought, okay, he's a little bit further along than we thought and he's athletic. But I don't know that anybody's trembling about Florida State's receivers. And I know they're not trembling about the tight end. So I think the passing game is still suspect, Tom. I really do. And that's where they could get held down.
So here's why I think the receivers bring you closer to balance. It's a one-on-one should be an advantage if you've got an average to slightly above average
Correct.
player.
So competent receiving,
yes.
You should have an advantage there.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about is that
I know.
Last year, you don't have to be well above replacement level. A one-on-one should be a win and enough that you can establish, again, some balance at the line of scrimmage. I know I'm a broken record about it, but I think that's the entire goal for this offense to take the next step is for them to be in positions where defense has to play them a little bit more honestly.
Yeah.
Last year, they almost could have not lined up across the receivers in some circumstances.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have cost them all that much.
But those things can be true, Tom, and still it's not enough in that. What I mean is if LSU is able to single cover you, I still think they'd have an advantage in walking. I don't think they're really all that worried about the big play of this offense via the passing game.
Right.
Now Jordan makes big plays because he buys time or he makes you miss. But I don't think they're really worried about Florida State carving them up in the pass game.
Well, and that's probably another thing where it's nuanced. We define our terms. I'm not necessarily talking about a 40-yard shot play or even a 20-yard shot play. I'm talking that Johnny Wilson is not soft, first of all. So he can win on first down on an in cut, and you're in 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3. And what that does for the running game, just that. I'm not talking about the fear. You're not fearing for your football life that you're going to get burned over the top by Johnny Wilson, and Deuce Spann hasn't proven to be consistently able to be in that position yet. So we'll see if they got some things schemed up for him. But irrespective of that, if you're in 2nd and 4 more often with this offense, they've never been there. They've never been there in Tallahassee. If they can do that with some consistency, Jordan Travis at quarterback in a 2nd and 4 with some of those basic plays that they run is a dangerous thing. And that's why I think this offense is going to be able to put up the numbers. That the magic number was 31 and change in the offseason. I think they'll be able to reach that number more often if they can win that first down play. And that's where I think, again, you've got a larger strike zone for the receivers. So it's not always about splash plays and explosive plays. I'm just talking about down and distance leverage. I think they're going to be able to get there more often this year.
I would love to see it hum, man, to watch it be confident, competent, consistent. If that happens, then I think Florida State's season really jumps up another, win and a half or so if you were just going by percentages or chances. I think it changes the entire trajectory. This is why I said that, obviously when you look at this game, it's not the be-all, end-all game of the season, but it could very well be a wonderful indicator or obviously an opportunity to reassess just how far Florida State's come the wrong way. They're better. We agree they're better. They could lose this game 31-20, and I'll tell you that I still think they're a better team than they were a year ago by quite a bit. But but I don't dismiss the idea that they may not really be an offense that is consistently solid. They may go stretches still where they're kind of pretty well contained.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's not possible, certainly against better defensive lines where you might go a little cold, but it's just they ran really cold, really, really cold last year for long.
Oh, for long, yeah.
And they didn't have anybody who could catch a punt, all these little things that added up. They're in second and long all the time, and yet they still, when Jordan started, found a way to get to the result. And that's through the sheer hard work and scheming, in large part, of the coaching staff, and then also the fear of what Jordan's legs are. It's just that those other areas that force them to be ice cold for quarters at a time, let alone 2 or 3 drives. Like you're talking about a quarter and a half, maybe 5 drives where you're saying, Jesus, we can't do a damn thing. They shouldn't go through stretches like that. We'll see. I'm also presupposing, and a lot of this argument stems on what we think the receivers actually are. I'm not saying that they're Power 5 good. I'm saying that I don't think they're soft, and I think that they can win a one-on-one enough that you could get to those places that you're not going to run ice cold and it's going to be academic. But
if they're Power 5 average, then Florida State's going to have a much, much better offense. We'll see if it's a much, much better offense against a talented LSU team. By the way, so of the things that stood out for Lee really quick, for those that missed his picks, he liked Clemson to roll over Georgia Tech, even though he thinks that they're a bit suspect. And I should make note that we both kind of nodded there. We're hoping that is certainly the case. He thought East Carolina would cover against NC State. That's the one I'm going to disagree most about. I'm pretty bullish on NC State. In fact, I like that team a lot. I mean it in the context of gambling and win totals and talent. NC State's good, guys. I think they are good. Now, do I think that they are led by a Mensa at coach? No, but has he been solid? Yes. Has he put together a program that is fairly formidable for this season? I think so.
Well, and a quarterback could be Tim Tebow light or whatever, but if you've got that front four, I mean that's a good answer. That's
a real good answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beat them through the air. Which if he's Tim Tebow, he ain't doing that.
He ain't doing that. He had LSU given the 3. Obviously, I think this. I look at this, and you'll hear me say it when we do the pregame show. I think it's a 3-point game. I think it's that kind of close. So I'm not out here advocating that if FSU loses, that they're going to get blown out. I don't think so. But I do think I do think it's probably a 3-point game, sort of a pick'em type contest. He doesn't like Kentucky giving up all those points with Miami of Ohio. I'm not going to touch the game myself. Louisville -4.5 against Syracuse. I think Louisville is going to beat Syracuse soundly, so I'm there too.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That feels like the first Vegas trap of the offseason or of the season, where you go, what the hell are they looking at? That they only think that this is a 4-point game. So you're saying it's a touchdown game. Well, I guess no, a little bit more than that. No, they're saying it is about a touchdown game because it's in Syracuse. Is that the carrier?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So why is it that light? Is Louisville's run defense that bad? That's what that scares me. That's what that line says to me, and scares me about that line is that, man, they think that Sean Tucker might run for 200 yards in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the underway on that. I think that Louisville's defense is actually a little bit better from what I've read, and I'm not there in camp, so it's hard to know, and I don't want to say it definitively, but the guys that cover them seem to think they're a better defense this year. Well, if they're marginally better, if those guys are right at all, and they're marginally better on defense, we know they're going to score. So I'm telling you, I'm bullish on that game. A game, again, that I mentioned yesterday on the show, he doesn't have it on his picks here, but I like Illinois getting points against Indiana. I think the wrong team's favored. Now, I got him at 3.5. That line's already down to 2. You see it's changing. But I think I would take Illinois on the money line just to win the game. So that's something to look at there. I think Illinois – I don't love Fat Bielema. I don't think they're on the cusp of doing something great at Illinois, but I damn sure don't respect or like Indiana.
And you've got your eye on Bielema more than most other coaches at nondescript universities. Like, really?
Yeah. Well,
what Bielema's doing, no matter where he's working.
I can't help it. But the other part about him, and I think that I don't know what happened at Arkansas. That got weird. But I'll just tell you that all of his teams at Wisconsin were tough. I mean, he could run the ball. He kind of played like a cold weather team should play. I would think that he's going to model Illinois that way. You're in Champaign, Illinois. You don't have the skill position players to get out there and sling it around. Play good defense and run the football. I would think they're going to play a lot of close games against middling teams. So I'll take points there.
Yeah.
I kind of like it. But either way, my friend, we're taking We're taking conversations around bets and we're getting after it. This is what's so perfect. By the way, ParamountSports.com to give him one last plug. He'll be with us all year long. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV. There's no way. I will say this. We spend a lot of time trying to predict what part of the team is going to be appreciably better than it was a year ago or better at all. Which part of the team is going to be worse? How does that affect the overall record? All these things, right? There is zero chance. I'm going to say it right now. There is zero chance that they are not vastly improved when it comes to special teams this year. Zero chance.
Vastly improved? See, that's interesting. Now, if you said improved, yeah, well, of course. How could you not be better? But vastly improved.
If you catch the punts, okay, we're going to start there. If you
Right.
catch the punts,
Right,
okay,
right.
we're just starting with the catching of the punt. If you catch them, you're improved. If you catch them and, God forbid, move forward with the ball in your hand, not backwards, not sideways, forward. You matriculate the ball forward. Say 5 yards off of a punt. I'm going to give you 5 yards, Tom. You're improved even more than
Right,
you were
yeah.
incrementally improved just by catching
So
it.
let's say that
Yeah.
point of the catch is your own 35-yard
Yeah.
line.
And
right?
now you got it at the 40
Right.
because of your 5-yard return.
Instead of the 9 because you let it bounce.
Do you see the difference between the 9 and the 40, everybody? The 9, well, that's a lot to overcome. You're going to have to go 91 yards to score a touchdown. It's going to be a toughie. Don't see a lot of 91-yard drives in football these days. You don't. They do exist, but they don't happen with any great frequency. Whereas if you have the ball on the 40, Tom, 60 yards, that's a big difference. Are you doing the Florida State math? I'm here with you, man.
That's like almost 31 yards better.
It's amazing. 31 fewer yards for which to traverse on your way to pay dirt. Sure sounds like fun to me. It is, it's just that much. The catching and the moving forward of 5 yards equals vastly improved.
Okay.
That's how it works, buddy. Kayvon brought up the fact that he wants to hire me because I gave you a very simple explanation using numbers as to how we were going to be that much better. And let me tell
You're a
you,
new analyst on the staff.
Yeah, I like it. But, let me tell you something. Wouldn't it be a funny practice for everybody if you guys were there and I was hired and I'm like, guys, listen up. Little special teams for you. Little special teams, everybody. Let me break it down. If you catch the punt, and I go through the whole thing, if you just catch it, can anybody here catch a punt? Micah, come on over. Let's show the boys how it's done. And then I have them kick punts and punt punts. And then my man is over here. I'm looking at the way he's catching them, guys. That's what we're looking for. The catching of the punt. Now the second part of this is once you have secured the punt, firmly secured the punt, like we just witnessed here from Micah, I want you to run forward. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. That I would just run forward. Like, there it is. That's what we're looking for around here. It's how championships are built. The catching and the running.
Right here in our hometown is a local spot where you can take a break from all your worries. A place where everybody knows his name is Smitty's Tap House and Grill. Smitty's deep appreciation for fine craft beers and tasty bar treats sets the stage as the ideal local neighborhood pub. Want to know more? Just visit Smitty'sTapHouse.com to check out the full menu. Come see us at Smitty's Tap House and Grill on Thomasville Road, just north of Cary Forest Parkway. You'll be glad you came, where everybody knows his name.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Hour number 2, Libations Friday, loosey-goosey edition of the show continues as we are all set in New Orleans. This hour, like the last, sorry, pre-recorded. We got to tell you that just so you know. But it's fresh content. It's all new. It's all good. We had to drive, man. You need a travel day. New Orleans isn't right next door. It's a weighty 6-hour trek. So anyhow, we're there now, and we're enjoying it. And Matt Moscona will join us. He hosts Upon Further Review, also radio show 104.5 there in Baton Rouge, all things LSU throughout the state, and also the Saints for that matter. He's your guy. He'll join us. He joined us a couple weeks ago. Had a good conversation with him. We'll talk to him again next segment, in fact, to get a little bit of an update, right? A little bit of an update. So listen up really quick. Like and subscribe if you're watching on Warchant TV. Thanks so much if you're listening on 93.3 Real Talk Radio. We do appreciate it. Also want to remind folks, I don't want to say we're running out of time, but I do think time is of the essence for you to sign up for just $1. Just $1. It's not a permanent thing that On3 and Warchant are doing where you can get it for $1. It's not. At some point, that entry price is going to go up. Given that it's $1, it'll go up significantly, even if it's just $10. But the point would be, you want to get it for $1. Why wouldn't you? It's an annual for $1. Calling all FSU fans right here, right now to action. Make it happen. Get signed up. Get the best in the business. That's what we are. You've got the Jeff Cameron Show every day. You've got Wake Up Warchant. You've got Seminole Headlines. You got the pregame show that Tom and I do. You got the endgame show that Tom and Aslan and Dominic Robinson, our lead analyst, does. A watch along, so good. Postgame, Gene and Tom, and then of course all of the articles, all the write-ups on a daily basis, all of the interviews, everything that we could possibly offer. We got a lot of it. Michael Langston, as well, of course, a recruiting expert for us, and you get all that information as well. And then you get your Nole community. Everybody comes together. And we can hyper-focus on what is a pivotal season. Let's do that together on $1 1 year warchant.com. Now, Tom, we'll get all these promotions out of the way because there's a lot, and we want everybody to be educated. If you would, lay bare the Saturday plan, and there it is. Warchant NOLA meet and greet. We will be at the Howlin' Wolf. That is right, the Howlin' Wolf and the Den, if you will. The Howlin' Wolf and Den, Saturday, September the 3rd. That is tomorrow. We will be there from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., 907 South Peters Street. Football will be on the TVs. Yes. Somebody asked me earlier this week, can we get the Georgia game while we're there? Yes. We'll be watching football just like you. We're not going to a place where we can't see the games. No, we're getting together with you guys. We're celebrating this trek to New Orleans, this fun time, this great matchup against LSU, but we're doing it by embracing college football. So we'll be there. Warchant staff and all of you, we look forward to seeing you. Let's just have a cold one together and talk some football, shall we? That's 2 to 5. And then, once again, pregame show begins at 6:30. Watch along at 7:30. Postgame show here from the Warchant crew happens just after the game, around 10 to 15 minutes after the contest is over. We are warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today for just $1. Exhale. There it is, all laid bare. We thank our partners, our sponsors, and all of you. I wanted to make sure everybody had a good handle on what we're doing, and there's just a lot going on, man. Just a lot going on. I would also note, if you haven't jumped on the prize picks yet, guys, I mean, what are we doing? You know how much money I made you last year. If you just listen to the Campster, we were rolling. One guy got mad at me because he didn't listen to my picks and he failed miserably, and now he thinks I owe him money. But that's not the way it works. You got to bet responsibly. You got to know what you're doing. That's the way it works. If you can't handle it, run from the kitchen, kids.
Yeah, it's part of the week that I had forgotten about. And not because I wasn't successful. I, too, did quite well with prize picks, especially with ACC football last year. Because, you break these teams down enough, and then, maybe Louisville goes on their merry way after they beat you and you go 0-4. But you learn a couple of things. And so in November, you might find something that says, oh, they only think Malik Cunningham's going to go for this many rush yards or this many passing yards. Well, they're playing that Syracuse defense. No, let's play with these numbers, with the Atlantic, with the ACC. We're going to learn more about LSU. It's a fun time in the week when they release those games. It's usually around Thursday or so that you get the full slate, sometimes on Wednesday. But those numbers are always fun. And they're over-under games. What's more fun in gambling, I think, than setting over-under numbers in your head, looking at the Vegas lines and then deciding, no way. Florida State and LSU aren't going to combine for 65 points. That thing's going to be down around 45. And then you see Vegas is 51.5. Those are fun exercises, and that's what it's all about at Prize Picks. So it gets fun.
You know, I also think, for example, so Tom, I haven't done this yet today, and I will get after it for the weekend. You and I are in New Orleans, so maybe I have done it today. But Bo Nix's number is 185.5 yards throwing against Georgia. I know you saw that. What do you think? This is a little example of the fun you can have on Prize Picks. And use the promo code, please, Warchant, promo code Warchant. It's good for us. It's good for you. There'll be a 100% deposit match, so you're going to want to do that. Anyhow, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on that. That Georgia-Oregon game is interesting. Here's why. I'm not a fan of Bo Nix. I don't think he's very good. Now, he's also like 52 years old, so he's been playing football forever. I think if he avoids the turnover, Oregon's offensive line and defensive line is quite talented. Frankly, they've got players. They're not devoid of players at Oregon. Their NIL deals have been robust before NIL existed. So what I would tell you is that Oregon's got the hosses, as you saw when they went on the road and beat Ohio State last year, to hang in this game. I really believe that. Now, I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they can score enough to win. But that's why a number like Bo Nix's passing yardage number is so fascinating. If he's checked down Charlie, can he get to 160? Can he get to 170? Can he get to 185? Well, it's 185.5 is the question.
Yeah, I think a blowout is your friend in this particular situation if you're looking at the over. Because if Georgia's up by 17 points early in the fourth quarter, then they're going to play soft and you might get 50 free yards from one drive with Bo, and that might push them from, say, $1.25 to $1.75. Then you're looking at the clock and saying, all right, one more possession. Come on, Bo. Come on.
Yeah.
And you find yourself, it's, what would it be? 6:30, 7 o'clock on the East Coast, local time 1 hour earlier for us in New Orleans. Tom, Jeff, why are you watching this game? It's not even close. Hang on. If Bo gets 2 more first downs, because, 1st and 10, they run the ball because they're trying to get out of Dodge. All right, stuffed at the line. 2nd and 10, stuffed at the line. 3rd and 9, you're going, all right, Bo, you have to throw the ball now.
You got to make this throw. Got to make this throw, baby.
That's a walk-on linebacker that's in, Bo. You can beat a walk-on linebacker. I put up my picks yesterday that I played as we introduced and rolled out Prize Picks for the fall again. And I will tell you that the Drake May pick was the replacement of a Bo Nix pick, which I find interesting that you bring that up. Because I had Bo Nix at, I think it was 10.5 rushing yards is where he is. I think
I'm going to go over.
I did 2 until I pulled it back and said the sack yardage thing is just such a killer. And if Georgia, registers 6 or 7 sacks on Bo, that's 30 yards, maybe 40 yards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where are you at? And if Oregon is losing late, Bo's not going to run. They're just going to chuck the ball around and run it into the middle line of scrimmage. But I almost had the over there. And that's funny because we, as our old friend Joey would tell us, tell the story of the game. And that's what Prize Picks is all about as well. You're trying to craft a way that you think a game goes from start to finish, and big-time players, or in Bo Nix's case, a starting quarterback who's not a big-time player at all, is going to help you tell that story. For me, Bo Nix, I think, is an over on the passing yards and an under on the rushing yards.
Let me ask you a question as I pivot back to Florida State and LSU. And in a moment, you'll hear from Matt Moscona, who covers LSU and really the entirety of college football in a similar sense. Like we cover Florida State primarily, but we talk about the football as a whole, both the NFL, college football. Of course, you got to do that. It's a sports talk show, and we want to keep from beating our head against the wall with the same subject every day. And Matt is really good at doing those things as well. I know that one of the things that we've talked about in the past, he and I, and I think this is a pretty good formula, and I'm just picking your brain. Here we are a couple days before the game. When there's an even matchup, when you think that the two teams are pretty well matched up and it's hard to get a handle on where to go with the number, the total, any of that stuff, you probably boil it down to a few factors. If you're trying to come to a conclusion because you have to, right? You want to know. And I think in sort of games that are decided by, or the point spread is 3 or less, and it is for this game, that one formula is to say quarterback, coach, venue. those three things and then make your decision based on it. And I was thinking about that today, basically when I got up, because I was nervous and I'm excited about the game. And I would beat myself up in the brain there for a moment with this idea that LSU is going to do this, this, and this. And then I would, in my argument in my head, retort from the FSU side and say, oh, no, hold on now. And then I would come back with the FSU side of things. And inevitably, I should say, I ended up with a whole bunch of stalemating where I just struggled. And then I remembered that old axiom. I kind of went back to it, which was when I used to do this between two teams that I didn't have a handle on or didn't have a passion for and just was indifferent trying to make a bet, I went quarterback, coach, venue. Would you say two of those three things favor LSU in this game? Because I don't think quarterback does. I think quarterback favors FSU.
No, I would say two of those three things favor Florida State. And I would say it might be, let's do it like a Ryder Cup format. It would be 1 full point and 2 half points. And so therefore 2 out of 3 to Florida State. And here's why. Brian Kelly is a superior coach with his bona fides than Mike Norvell. To Mike Norvell, we know that. Mike is on the way up, but he's brand new. So his process and his way of doing things will be different in November. It will have set in more in November than it will in this game. So that negates a little bit.
So the advantage is negated, you think?
Correct. And I also think for this venue, while I understand that it's in LSU's backyard, you're talking about between 30 and 35,000 Florida State fans, give or take how many unloaded their tickets on the secondary market to LSU fans, right? And then there's also the corporate presence of people that are in and around New Orleans that are going to be at this football game. So this is a bowl game atmosphere that tilts LSU. Very different than an outright home game up in Death Valley. So to me, that's also a 0.5. And then you've got a quarterback controversy, I think, in LSU. They're going to start Daniels is what I think. I agree with what Lee Sterling said. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if this is a 2-quarterback system. So you've got that mess on your hands, and then you got Jordan Travis with the continuity of the offense. So if you had those as 3 points, I would go 1.0 on the quarterback for FSU, a split, and a split. So FSU with a 2-1 advantage in that particular 3-category formula.
I suspected that would be the route that you went, because I think if we're not incorporating all the factors to an early season game, then it is kind of easy to declare an advantage for LSU, coach and venue. But it's fair to say first game, new system, new team, new beginnings for Brian Kelly. And it's fair to say that the de facto home game that it should be for LSU is mitigated by somewhat of a sterile environment, a corporate environment that occurs at all of these preseason sort of kickoff, made for television events. And then secondarily, the tickets were distributed evenly.
Yeah, and I get it, and I know that we got to get it on and get going for Matt Moscona, but those atmospheres are really fun and rowdy too. I think it's going to be akin to the 2010 Chick-fil-A Bowl when we were playing South Carolina. That was rowdy as hell, but it was pretty evenly split down the middle. So one half of the stadium would go nuts and the other would fall silent and vice versa. Again, I think it might be 60-40 LSU, but if you're giving me the choice of that venue with that equation versus going up to Baton Rouge on a Saturday.
Woo! Oh, yeah. No, that'd be a problem.
This is a huge difference, a massive difference.
Very big difference. That's fair. And in that way, I'm happy that it's in New Orleans, because normally I'm a home and home guy. I don't care about these random cities that don't represent the universities. I want those games to be on the campuses of the universities. In this case, we're not fully recovered from our absence from big-time college football over the last 5 years. I don't feel equipped to mosey on in as we did to Death Valley at Clemson in 2013 and flex before a game kicks off. We're not there yet. Let's just neutral site's good, Tom. Neutral site's good. Matt Moscona going to join us next. We'll talk FSU LSU. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There was something that Adam Fuller said yesterday in his press conference, Ira, that it kind of struck me, because it's almost like an omission. You're telling us something, but you're omitting something. And the comment was, it was speaking about how players are willing to be coached on the defensive side of the ball. And I think it was just coming off of a comment about Akeem Dent's 2 interceptions in the scrimmage. But he said, the players are willing to be coached right now. And to me, what I've seen so far, and I've been looking at the trenches a lot, that defense is starting to develop a snarl to it. like a real snarl. They've got guys who are willing to talk a little bit after the play is over. On the defensive line, Jared Verse is not afraid. McClendon's not afraid. I noticed there was an interior defensive lineman this week after a 3-and-out for the offense. He waved goodbye to the offense as they ran off the field. There's a little bit of swagger building for this defense, and it probably is coming through the confidence and continuity of coaching and philosophy. But, we've struggled for so long to identify what is Florida State's defense because it was just bad at a lot of things. But it seems like they're starting to develop a personality to them, and it's not a nice one to play against, which should excite Florida State fans.
Yeah, and again, I think, defensive football, and we've talked about this a lot over the last few years, especially when the team has not been playing well. So much of defensive football is trust, and trust in the coaching staff, to the point you just made, to believe if I do my job, if I do what I'm asked to do, and Adam Fuller said it, I think, a couple times during that press conference referring to Akeem Dent, he's doing what we're asking him to do. And surprisingly enough, that's resulting in good results, because it has to be 11 parts working together. Offense, you can sometimes have big plays when just one or two guys make a big play. But defense, it has to be all 11 guys doing their job and trusting each other. And sometimes it's not, Mike Norvell made that comment a few times last season where he made the comment with the best of intentions, like when they lost at Wake Forest or when they lost a couple of games last season. We're making mistakes with the best of intentions. What he means is guys are trying too hard to make a play that's not their play to make. They're not trusting the guy next to them. They're not trusting the guy behind them. I think what you're seeing in practice now is year 3 in the system. They had some success last season, and you got some mature guys. You brought in some guys who are winners, from other programs that have the right mindset. And I think you're seeing guys play as a unit, 11 guys working together. And I think it's a big difference, man. Sometimes you see defenses in college football that aren't all first-round picks, but play really well and play hard together, and they have success. That's where I think they're getting closer to. It's what it looks like to me.
All right, as promised, welcome back, Jeff Cameron Show. It's time to welcome our friend Matt Moscona. Of course, he's the host after further review, weekdays 3 to 6 Central Time there, ESPN, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. You'll find him all over the internet, and he's here with us today, and we appreciate that. Matt, how are you, man?
Hey, Jeff, I'm great, man. Great to chat again.
It is great to chat again. I wanted to get a quick update from you just regarding, obviously, the final preparation since we last talked. Brian Kelly decided, obviously, to hold off on announcing the starting quarterback. That's not that unusual. But your thoughts about the depth chart as we've seen some of it posted or speculated on, and any surprises, anything to take note of as we head into this game? I think both of us think it's going to be a game. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I remember our conversation last time that, both defensive lines have an awful lot of success. So we kind of turn our attentions at that point to some other areas, including special teams and also these two quarterbacks. But I guess big picture stuff, Matt, I'll ask you to go wherever you'd like.
Yeah, I think for LSU, they had a really good camp. Maybe most notably is that they stayed healthy. They have not had any significant injury, which is rare. And Brian Kelly talked about, not only lauding the nutrition staff, the strength and training staff, their medical staff, but just the way that they approached practice in this camp. So LSU is a very healthy team. I think, like our conversation where we talked about, I think the strength for both teams, defensive line, offensive line, and I believe the place kicking duties are going to be the biggest questions for LSU. Everyone wants to focus on quarterback, but this LSU offensive line, you've got 5 new starters in different spots. You've got a lot of guys who have played before and played at different places, but 5 guys who were not in the spot they were in a year ago, next to the players they were not next to a year ago. That should be a little anxiety inducing if you're LSU. And also notably, guys, they're not going to have John Emery. Who's a former 5-star running back who is going to miss the first 2 games of the season due to a continuation of an academic suspension from a year ago.
Is Noah Cain going to get the bulk of the carries here?
Yeah, I would think Noah Cain. They're going to run 3 guys, and I believe they're all going to play. It's going to be Noah Cain, who's the Penn State transfer. who has honestly, Jeff, looked really good. I don't know that there was a great discernible difference between he and John Emery throughout all the practices we saw. And oddly, Brian Kelly opened practice. Like we got to watch 3 or 4 full practices, including scrimmage sessions, which is bizarre in the modern age of college football, but very much appreciated. But Kane, there's a sophomore, Armani Goodwin, who you're going to see as well. He's bulked up. He's 5'8", but he's about 200 pounds, kind of like a little bowling ball. And there's a former walk-on, Josh Williams, who you'll probably see get some run as well. So they're going to rotate all 3 of those guys. But I really believe, Jeff, if Jaden Daniels is the guy like we assume he's going to be, he's probably going to have to make plays with his feet. And I would not be surprised if Jaden Daniels was LSU's leading rusher in this ballgame.
It's an interesting dilemma that I think both offensive lines will find themselves in, with the strengths of these two teams being the defensive line and both quarterbacks being mobile. I think it's an interesting situation for Jordan Travis, too, an opportunity for him, because I think for Florida State fans and really any national pundits watching, I don't know that either one of these quarterbacks are trusted all that much, at least by the outside perceptions. And really, quite frankly, neither have earned that trust that I've seen. And to me, I think it does come down to the quarterbacks. This is where LSU would have an advantage, though, because of who they're throwing to. Everybody knows about Kayshon Boutte, but talk about the rest of this receiving core, which I said the last time we talked, I think could very well be the best, if not the best, outside of Alabama, maybe the second best in the SEC.
It might be right there rivaling Ohio State with the best in the country. It is undeniably the strength of this team. Look, Kayshon Boutte there's a reason he's on everybody's mock draft as a top, one of maybe the top receiver taken in the draft. For a little bit of perspective, Jeff, last week, if you watch that Nebraska Northwestern game, Trey Palmer was the most targeted receiver in that ball game for Nebraska. He transferred to Nebraska from LSU this past offseason. Mark Whipple, the Nebraska offensive coordinator, was at Pitt last year where they had Jordan Addison, who of course won the Biletnikoff. Mark Whipple compared Trey Palmer to Jordan Addison. They have just stockpiled talent there. Malik Neighbors is a guy who wears number 8. They've moved him into the slot, and he is an explosive cat. Jack Besh got a lot of run last year as a freshman. Jeray Jenkins is a senior who's back as well, big-bodied receiver. They got former 4- and 5-star guys like Brian Thomas and Chris Hilton that are just looking for ways to get on the field. That is, if defensive line is LSU's strength on the defensive side, wide receiver undeniably is the strength on the entire team. The question is, do they have a quarterback that can get to the ball, and can the offensive line give the quarterback time to get to the ball?
Is there any one thing beyond the offensive line that you alluded to earlier that if you are looking at it from the other side and you think that Florida State could take advantage of? For our listeners, I'm kind of curious what you think that is. I know you're worried about, or you've mentioned that LSU fans are certainly worried about. Maybe worried's not the right word, just don't know what they're going to get out of special teams. Is there another area? Because I look at the secondary and I say there's a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, but not together.
That's fair. So LSU a year ago, their top 3 corners obviously were Derek Stingley, who's now in the NFL, Elias Ricks, who's at Alabama, and Dwight McGlothern, who is now at Arkansas. And Cordell Flott was their nickel. He's also in the NFL. Now, they've got their 2 starting safeties back with Major Burns and Jay Ward. So they're really good, deep, and talented at safety. Corner is a giant question. Like you mentioned, you've got – I can run through names, but Jarek Bernard Converse was all Big 12 at Oklahoma State last year. He started 47 consecutive games in the Big 12. But this will be his first taste at LSU. Mekhi Gardner is a big-bodied, long cornerback who transferred in from Nichols. They like him a lot. They got a McNeese transfer named Colby Richardson, who put on about 20 pounds. And they think he's a great athlete and really can run. They've got all of their corners that they're going to play are either 5th or 6th year guys. So veteran guys, a lot of experience, but none of them are as talented as the guys that were here a year ago.
I'm kind of curious, Matt. I'll be there, obviously, covering this game. I always enjoy interacting with LSU fans. I've done it in baseball, done it out at the College World Series, and I've done it for football. This is a great fan base. It's one of the best in all of sports because of the embracing of the moment, of the food, the culture, the music, everything, the passion, obviously. Are LSU fans of the mindset that this is a cakewalk? FSU's been bad. There's been no way around it. It's been a bad program for the last 5 years. I bring it up because Florida State fans listening, making the trip to New Orleans, they're cautiously optimistic that this is a better season in the lane and wait for Florida State. But a lot of it kind of hinges in their mind on what does Florida State look like against LSU? My guess, you tell me if I'm wrong, my guess is LSU fans are bullish that it's going to be a much better season because of what you've alluded to. There's a lot of talent. It was a mess last year in the coaching staff, but that seems to be remedied. LSU fans bullish about what they think is going to happen on Sunday night?
Yeah, Jeff, I guess it kind of depends on what fans you ask. I mean, listen, you that's like any fan base, right? I mean, you can find LSU fans who are going to tell you they think it's going to be 48-17. I don't think that's a consensus. I think what you have with this LSU fan base right now is I think LSU fans believe LSU will win this game. Probably 1-85, a little more talented team, and you can't underestimate also the venue. Playing in LSU's had a ton of success. They've won. They're 7-1 the last 8 games in the Superdome. The only loss was the national championship loss to Alabama. That's going to be a home game for LSU. So you're going to have a crowd advantage. There's a lot of reasons that LSU fans think their team will win this game. I don't know that I would say cakewalk, though, because I think this fan base over the last 2 years has seen its program face some staunch realities about what it's like to maintain that competitive level that LSU's had for 20 years. I mean, Jeff, you know this better than me. It's not that dissimilar from Florida State, where you had this incredible run for the better part of 2 decades, and then maybe a bad coaching hire, a decision here or there, and it gets bumpy, and finding your way back to the top. So I think if you're asking, LSU fans are confident they're going to win the game, but realistically, LSU also I think recognizes there's things that are gigantic question marks that are going to provide speed bumps on this season. We mentioned the offensive line. You're replacing every one of your specialists. You brought in more transfer players than any school in America this offseason. You've got 9 of your 10 coaches turned over, all your support staff, new strength and conditioning staff for the first time in 20 years. I mean, there's a lot of change. It is naive to think that you're just going to catch stride and sprint from jump. So this season, there's going to be a lot of feeling out in the Brian Kelly era. And there's going to be some things that go really, really well for this team. And there's probably going to be some head-scratching moments as well. But if you consider coaching, venue, talent, yeah, I think LSU rightfully is favored in this game. But I think also, Jeff, that I think the spread in this game is fair also because of all the questions. I don't know how either fan base can assume that they're just going to go in and walk in this game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of unknowns. I think that's well said, Matt. And I appreciate you lending some insight, shedding some light on what LSU is coming out of camp. Obviously, I think LSU is a bit of a mystery to a lot of people because that's a team that if it gels and gels quickly, could be the surprise of the West, certainly, and could be a lot better team than they were projected to be in the preseason. And at the same time, how quickly does it happen? Florida State fans are hoping not too quickly. Enjoy the game, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Matt Moscona. Upon further review, you can hear him there in Baton Rouge, New Orleans as well, throughout the state, obviously, as he is with ESPN in Louisiana and does a great job of covering the Tigers and the Saints and everything else to do with sports. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. We'll bring in Michael Langston in just a moment, get an idea on the recruiting impact this game may have for Florida State, obviously, and take a look moving forward before their trek over to Louisville following this game.
That first down run, another one for Trayshawn. They brought him back out.
Another good run, man. We're just chunking in the running game right now. It's every time they run the ball, it's 6 to 8 yards.
Trayshawn
snap, play action. Got him. Let's go.
That's poise from 13 right there. Right, Dominic? Poise.
Really good, man. Yeah, man. That's a lot of times that's just going to take what you can get. But that's what you get with him, man. He's just a gamer. He's going to make the plays that you don't script. And that's what you love about him, man. He's just a winner. He's always going to do a bunch of stuff that you didn't practice throughout the week. Things break down. He's going to stay cool. He's just going to compete his butt off.
But that's got to be something that's just naturally inside you, right?
There's a big part of just athleticism in general. There's a touchdown.
There you go. Trayshawn Ward, he bounced it left. He didn't like what he saw. So he bounced it, cut to the left, and it's a 3-yard touchdown. 32-0 pending the extra point. There's the number for you.
So there's a big part of just athleticism that it is sort of ingrained from your personality.
Mm-hmm.
Part of your athleticism is like if you're a person who's very high strung, then high intense situations are only going to make you go up. Yeah. And then some people's personality, it's the opposite. Even though they're high strung, they get in these chaotic situations and their heart rate slows down. And so some of that stuff is not, you can train it to a certain extent, but some people, man, they just have it, it's an innate ability that you were born with. And you go, man, like that guy has always done that. Like he does it even in non-athletic situations. So when he does it in athletic situations, it's just natural.
I'm sure it wouldn't surprise you. It's great that we get into practice. Mike Norvell's media policy is the envy of most media groups in the country. He's just like that in practice too. D-Rob, he is a quiet leader. He'll pull you aside and talk to you. He's not going to, rah the huddle before a drill or before 11 on 11. He's a leader by example. He's a quiet leader. So what you're saying about translating from personality type to on the field, it makes a lot of sense to me. Now they can clock out now, right? Can they clock out 33-0? Are they done?
I hope so. With him especially.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Don't forget, if you're watching, to like and subscribe. And by the way, it's $1 if you haven't joined. You got to join. We got a massive team. We've got content every day. There you see it on your screen. It's $1. Warchant.com on 3, $1 for 1 year. All Seminole fans should be already signed up. But if you haven't, make sure you do so. I want to bring on Michael Langston right now, the recruiting guru for Warchant.com. And I do have some questions for him, but he's a part of that massive staff that I was just referencing. So this is what we do. We just bring in experts left and right all the time, and you can be a part of it for just $1. Michael, how are you, good sir? Good to be with you again.
I'm good. It's $1, guys. I got $1 in my jeans.
There it is.
Like $1. And you're not going to get more out of this $1 than what you get with this stuff. All the team stuff. I posted some recruiting stuff over the weekend. It's every day. There's something on there. So sign up, join us, join the family, guys.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to kind of come at this in reverse. I'll get specific to Florida State in a second, but I did see, and I jotted this down because I didn't want to forget to ask you, did I see this right, that Florida and Georgia are now able to host recruits over there in Jacksonville when they play that game? Is that right, first of all? And then secondly, if it is, could Florida State host recruits in New Orleans? What about next year in Orlando?
I think the rule is you can buy them tickets. The school can buy tickets for the recruits. I don't know about the hosting stuff. I know FSU cannot host kids in New Orleans. That was made clear to me. I asked about that, ironically, a few weeks ago because I wanted to check. But they can buy tickets for the recruits and give them tickets. So that's what they can do, is they can give them tickets. The kids got to get over there themselves. But to my knowledge, they cannot host recruits like they would if they're at Doak Campbell Stadium.
Got it. And then I was curious, going back to our game this weekend, how big is this for Florida State? We talk about the need to get off to a good start, and the recruiting timetable changed a while back, and we know that if you get off to a slow start, you may be written off early in the year, no matter what you do on the back end. So for Florida State, great, they won 5 of their last 7 last year, but it was a little late. They were already written off. In your estimation, how big is it on the recruiting trail, this particular game against LSU on a Sunday night?
It's massive because it's basically like Monday Night Football for college football because you're the main game in town. Everyone else is playing on Saturday. They probably organized this just for that. So all eyes are going to be on FSU and LSU, and it's massive from a national perspective. Now, from a seasonal perspective, I would venture to say out of these 3 games, the Louisville game is probably more important because Louisville is your conference. That's kind of, you can get a notch up as far as what you're doing in the league. But this one is big because this one will move the needle. This will move the needle with recruits. You guys like Hakeem Williams as a 5-star wide receiver. This will move it with those guys. This will get kids to visit your campus. So from a recruiting spectrum, there's nothing bigger than this game outside of whenever FSU host Clemson in Florida, later in the year. But it could change drastically as far as the way recruits view FSU, but also, even more importantly, the in-state recruits who've seen FSU for the last 4 or 5 years. They hear the stuff about Coach Norvell. They like everything they're doing, but these kids see FSU every year, so they know what the deal is as far as how the struggles have been for the last 4 years. So if you put that product on the field and you deliver, I think my phone right here, guys, this sucker right here is going to be very busy because dudes are going to be lining up for visits left and right if FSU wins that game.
Hey, and I don't want to put you on the spot because you may not know this, and it just occurred to me while we were talking about this, but you might know it. Is there a specific player that FSU and Louisville, or maybe multiple players that FSU and not Louisville, FSU and LSU are potentially tussling over that have a keen interest in this game?
I don't think there's like a particular per se guy with those 2 schools. I think most of their kids, like, most Louisiana kids that are considering FSU and LSU, they go to LSU. And, I think they got an offensive lineman that's going to announce for, his decision, I think today or tomorrow, and it's probably going to be LSU. I don't think there's a guy. I think the most important prospect, I think, that I know so far is Hakeem Williams that's going to visit there this weekend. He's going to be on the FSU side. That's important. That tells you a lot. He's using his own money or family's money or whoever's money in this family to come over there for the trip. I know, FSU did give him a ticket, but the fact that he's going speaks volumes. And I've heard a lot of strong buzz just about FSU. That I told you this the last time I was on, that I felt like FSU was a really strong factor in this race with Hakeem. And certainly so this game will impact him, but also you have 2 guys on the LSU side, and Shelton Sampson and also Jalen Brown, who are expected to be there for the game. So are possibly, I know Shelton will likely be there, but I'm not sure Jalen. But both of those guys are committed to LSU. But I was told, like, if FSU wins, like, look out for FSU to, at the very least, with Jalen Brown, catch his interest. So I think a lot of kids are waiting to see kind of
where FSU's at.
Yeah. The last week was about as perfect, I think, as you could do. You're supposed to kick the crap out of that team. They did that. They didn't show a lot. They went out there and executed it pretty flawlessly, as far as except for the Rodemaker pick. But I think overall, that was kind of what recruits want to see. We put up our recruit reactions. You could tell that with the recruits that they were seeing, like, hey, these dudes look fun. They look exciting. But now is the test. Now is the time where you're playing LSU. They got good players just like you got good players. So now we're going to see kind of where they sit. And I think it would be a massive push for recruiting if they win that game.
Yeah, and Michael, I think if we were being honest, for people who, let's say, only follow recruiting casually. You know, it's not their job like it is yours or even mine to at least have an idea of where we rank in recruiting, where LSU ranks. Bottom line is, if we're looking big picture the last 3 years, LSU, well, that's 5-7 years. LSU has out recruited Florida State, to say the least. They still have a ton of talent over there.
Right. They do. And it's a school that does really well. And anytime, and we've seen this with a lot of schools, you know, whether it's Florida, Miami, certainly LSU, you need to get a new coach in there. You're going to get that first year buzz. There's going to be excitement because everyone's excited about that first year because they think you're getting ready to turn it around right away. But LSU's always recruited pretty well, no matter what coach is there, whether it's Edo or now Brian Kelly. I think the program itself, being in the SEC, being a team that attracts, you know, recruits, just the feeling when you're in Tiger Stadium, the feeling just around that program is certainly an attractive thing. And, you know, SEC certainly sells what it sells from a lot of those schools. But, you know, a lot of people forget this team's only like a few years removed from, you know, a national title, you know, so, you know, even though that was a perfect storm, but I think LSU's still a premier program despite what, you know, last year showed as far as their record.
Yeah, they got a ton of talent, and everybody knows that if Florida State could get this win, you're right, maybe turning heads would be absolutely huge. Quick question for you. Blake Nicholson, I've been waiting on this. I'm getting a little frustrated, Michael. What are we waiting on here? What the hell's going on with the linebacker? I thought this would be done by now. What do I know? You're the expert. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, the time frame that Blake's always told me is, you know, the last week of August, or which we're in, or the first week of September. That's kind of the time frame he wanted to do it. I think a lot of that's probably, this is just my guess. I mean, Blake hasn't told me this personally, but probably just to see kind of what the two teams look like, who I think it's Oregon, FSU. I think I think he was very impressed. For those that read my recruit reaction, he was in there. He was very impressed. He watched seemed like he watched the majority of the game, which intrigued me because it's like that's against a kind of a crap opponent, and two, they had a delay in the game, weather delay. So he sat around the fact that he wanted to watch that. So I think it's more so, you know, he probably just wants to watch the games and get a feel for it. There's been no reason, but it's around the time frame that Blake's always told me. Jeff, I still feel good about my pick. I would not change it. I feel solidly about that FSU is gonna be. I haven't heard any new developments. That's kind of what you worry about when things drag a little bit longer, slightly longer than you probably think. I think that's what immediately the fan in us, I guess, thinks as far as
and for good reason, Michael. We've been burned.
Yeah. What's screwing up? What's going on? What are you doing? Yeah. What's going on? I haven't heard anything as far as change. I haven't heard a change in FSU's confidence. So, but it does. I know it makes people uneasy, but that's kind of what I have on Blake Nicholson. But that's kind of my vibe. I feel that he wants to watch these teams first.
Final thing, Michael, I am curious about this. I think the fan base, the alumni, the boosters, anybody that has any interest in Florida State understands the game of recruiting has changed dramatically. A lot of it does have to do with what you can provide through the NIL, and we have to be careful how we word these things and these entities and collectives and all of that. But we do know, I want you to just kind of cursory 10,000-yard stare. Tell me, is Florida State a lot better off now than they were 6 months ago, than they were a year ago? It seems to me like they've got their ducks in a better row here with the NIL and the ability to identify guys that maybe they need to show they can compete. They can compete with other schools who have an awful lot to offer.
Yeah, I think they're doing very well. I won't get into specific numbers because I don't want to get in trouble. But I think they're doing really well. You know, when you outwork, or whatever you want to word that, with a guy like Lucas Simmons, who Tennessee was involved with, we know Tennessee is not afraid with the NIL to throw down the gauntlet. So I think there, and then Shelton Sampson, I'll put it. I won't put numbers, but I will say FSU's NIL was just as good as LSU's. Like, so it was really good. I mean, they've been very strong in this area. Now, there's going to be certain teams that, there's going to be a few in there that just going to throw astronomical numbers. But I think they are such a much more comfortable place now where they know what works. They know what works with each one. They do their research. They're really detailed as far as the communication. It's not like a situation when they wait till, oh, FSU's hosting a kid and then they start talking. I mean, their NIL is very involved with these guys even way before they even visit. So the preparation, the organization with the NIL, I think, is very active in a much, much better, probably a 180 compared to what they were, I think, a year ago. Like you mentioned, it was just, we heard nothing. It was just like crickets.
Yeah, it was scary is what it was. And that's why I asked you the question. I wanted you, I know you cover recruiting on a daily basis for us on warchant.com. You're our lead recruiting analyst.
Yeah.
I'd heard good things, but I thought, well, Michael needs to tell the people because he's in the trenches on a daily basis, talking to players, talking to parents, talking to coaches, the organizations throughout the state and throughout the Southeast. So I wanted to be sure that that was still trending upward. Sounds like it is. Good, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the insight. As always, be well. Enjoy the game. We'll talk again soon.
Have fun in NOLA.
Okay, brother. I will. Take care. That's
All right.
Michael Langston. He's the lead recruiting analyst for Warchant.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Warchant.com. You get all of this for just $1. Just $1. All of our experts, all of our game coverage. Another reminder, I don't have to tell you, but let's lay out the list of the gazillion things we've got coming for you for this big game against LSU. First of all, it's the meet and greet. That is Saturday from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Howlin' Wolf and Den. We will be there from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Who knows, may linger a little bit longer. College football going to be on the televisions, cold drinks, full menu of food, so everybody can come by. That's 907 St. Peter Street. Then, of course, we've got the pregame show on 6:30, I should say, at 6:30 on the day of the game. Myself, Tom Lang, and others. Watch along happening at 7:30 Eastern time, and then the post-game show comes 10 to 15 minutes after the conclusion of the game. I know everybody will have a lot to say, and you get all of this for $1. And the next morning when you get up, you get the articles, the interviews, and everything else. Go sign up now. It's just $1. Appreciate you all. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV.
And Gene, the offensive line, here's what's interesting. So Dylan Gibbons, we knew in practice, it's fun to be able to talk now that a game is on and everybody can see. We knew that Dylan could play center, but he hasn't played a ton of center in camp. And so when you have an injury to Darius Washington, who's the first guy? They do move Dylan Gibbons over from left guard to center. And in addition to that, they moved a lot of players around today. Bless Harris played right tackle and left tackle. Dimitri Emmanuel played right guard and left guard. Gibbons, of course, played left guard and center. They were looking at and Jazz, of course, was all over. He played right guard. He played some tackle as well. They're moving dudes around, Gene. They want it in case of emergency. If Mike Norvell's luck continues to be rotten when it comes to injuries, they are preparing on the fly, and that's what they did today with all those different O-line combinations. It was a day where they got a lot of different work for a lot of different players.
Well, and this is smart. I mean, because this is the only game you can do this. I mean, until maybe Louisiana and whatever game 11 that is. I mean, and for the bulk of the season, this is the only time you really get to try some different combinations and give guys some reps just in case, like you said, the break lasts in case of emergency. We got to move this guy here or there. At least they've gotten a couple reps at the position. They can look at film now and evaluate, okay, he can handle that or he can't. We need more reps in practice, whatever. It's a great teaching tool for them to be able to do that going in. But, again, at the end of the day, I'm going to be very curious, again, what we can and can't report. But that first day of practice, what is happening at the center position? Who, are one of those guys? If you're in a 50-50 with, with Smith, at that point, Maurice Smith, do you just go, you know what? We need you for this game. We probably would have let you sit, but because you're it right now, we may have to have you out there to gut it out.
What's going on tonight, Wes? Talk to us.
Yeah, first, let's raise a glass and cheers to a Noles victory for the first time since 2016 for Game 1. How about it?
Cheers.
It's been a minute, Wes, and it feels that long. Sometimes you say, wow, how has that much time passed? Not in this case. It feels like it's been 6 years.
Oh my gosh, I have way too much gray hair. I can tell you that. So we broke a record last year against one FCS opponent in a negative way. This year we break a record in a positive way with the 3 backs over 100 yards apiece. How about that? I mean, I knew we were going to be strong in the run game, But that was my biggest takeaway. And then you saw what Rodney Hill did,
Yes.
and he's going to be the truth going forward. So really impressed by that run game. I think that's really going to be our calling card for this year.
You know, Wes, what I was hoping for when I saw that with the 3 100 guys and then Hill got it at the end, I was hoping he could break one at the end. So get a 4. I don't know if anybody's had 4 running backs rush for over 100 yards. It has to be very few if that's been done in college football.
Yeah.
And he could have, a little bit more time, he would have done one. So, yeah, you're right. That was the number one thing I talked about that earlier that stood out to me was how hard those running backs. We got some talented running backs. They run hard. They've got some good moves. And a couple of those guys, man, when Benson hit that second gear,
Yeah.
man, that's special. We got some special running backs right now.
The only thing I didn't like about Benson's runs were how early he was hit on a couple of them. And it's great that he's bouncing off of defenders
Yeah.
to create positive plays, but he was hitting the backfield a little too much for my liking. Trayshawn Ward, on the other hand, it seemed like whatever plays were called or whatever vision he had, he was farther up the field or down the field, depending upon your perspective, if you're an offensive or defensive person, before he ran into contact. So, Trey Benson obviously has a lot of tools we like. I didn't know he could break tackles quite like that, Gene, because even if it is Duquesne, I mean, you're dropping 4 or 5 guys on a single play. That could get real fun real fast.
And just like that, it is over. All that's left to do is a pregame show, in-game show, post-game show, and celebration of football. That's the lineup really quick as we sign off. Pregame show will be 6:30. Watch along 7:30. Post-game show just 10 to 15 minutes after Florida State and LSU concludes. For those of you making your way to New Orleans, don't forget, we'll be at the Howling Wolf on Saturday. That's 907 St. Peter's Street, 2 to 5 p.m. Just a meet and greet, hang out, have a cold one, and watch some football. That's what we'll be doing for a few hours there at the Howling Wolf in Den. Look forward to seeing you if you're going to make your way over there. Be safe, everybody. Safe travels. Have a good time. Our thanks, obviously, Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, Matt Moscona, upon further review, 104.5 ESPN Radio there in Louisiana. And Michael Langston, of course, whom you just heard from, doing a great job covering recruiting for us. A lot on the line here, T. Lizzie, but we've got to get to Probables. Let's thank our friends at Tallulah, now sponsoring said Probables. A reminder to all you guys that their stock there at Tallulah, the latest and greatest Delta 8 THC vapes, edibles, gummies, menu of Delta 9 drink flavors on tap, all that good stuff. Local vape superstore with the largest selection of vape products in the entire city. Largest selection of CBD products for your pets. If they have problems with anxiety, if you have problems with anxiety, go see the ladies at Tallulah. 3 convenient locations in Tallahassee. Railroad Square, where you can do the little floating pod. Get you a little floating pod. Market Street next to Momo's Pizza, and Bannerman Crossing as well. So no shortage of locales, good sir.
Yeah, I wonder if Adam Gase ever made his way to Tallulah. I think it would help him a lot, given
He
that
needs it.
anxiety. You brought up that word, and when I hear the word anxiety, I picture Adam Gase at a press conference.
I picture Florida State fan base optimistic that we're going to get a win, but filled with anxiety that we're not, because it's been a while since we've had a big one. This would qualify as a pretty big one. Cue it up, buddy. Let's do some Probables. Cue that music. I know that we can't get to the liner. How you say Probables? We'll do that. There you go. I did it for you. Now fire away. Pirates. Buccos are going to throw a bum. That's what it says on the sheet. It's a bum. TBD for the Blue Jays. Luis Cessa for the Reds. Rockies, TBD, A's. Or we're late in the year. All the call-ups, all the stuff's going on. People aren't sure. Dean Creamer going to start for the Orioles. The A's are still figuring it out. Drew Hutchison pitching for the Tigers. Drew's 2-7 with a 4.01. The Royals, TBD. Mariners, Guardians. Luis Castillo, Zach Plesac. Tommy, your Mets are taking on the Nationals this weekend. What's the slate look like? They're not sure just yet, or at least they haven't announced at the time we're doing this.
It'll be Peterson or Cookie Carrasco. So we'll see. It depends on if Carrasco can come off the disabled list. Or, sorry, the injured list. IL, not the DL.
Rangers, Red Sox, Dallas Keuchel, Nick Pivetta. Big series between the Yankees and the Rays. It's getting a little dicey, Yankee fans. You a little nervous? Getting a little dicey? Maybe Domingo Germán will help you? Rays will throw the kitchen sink. Marlins, Braves, Sandy Alcantara. Braves still deciding. Twins, White Sox, Sonny Gray, Davis Martin. Cubs, Cardinals, Adrian Sampson, Jordan Montgomery. Jump down here to the Padres and the Dodgers. Yu Darvish getting the start for the Padres. Dodgers still undecided. Phillies, Giants. That's Kyle Gibson, Alex Cobb. Brewers, D-backs, Eric Lauer, Zach Davies. That's a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Hey, thanks so much for listening all week long. It's been great. Tune into the coverage there in New Orleans. We will be there. We're there right now at the time that you're listening and watching this. Tom, dance away. We'll say goodbye. Don't forget, it's just $1. It's $1. Sign up, warchant.com today for the best coverage this weekend of Florida State, LSU, and throughout the rest of the year. Take care, everybody. Go Noles. Talk soon.